Welcome to Book Talks with Diane. Today's book is Finding Margaret Fuller by Alison Pataki, an epic reimagining of the life of Margaret Fuller, America's forgotten leading lady and the central figure of a movement that defined a nation. From the New York Times bestselling author of The Magnificent Lives of Marjorie Post. Massachusetts, 1836. Young, brazen, beautiful, and unapologetically brilliant Margaret Fuller accepts an invitation from Ralph Waldo Emerson, the celebrated sage of Concord, to meet his coterie of enlightened friends, shaping a nation in the throes of its own self-discovery. By the end of her stay, she will become the radiant genius and fiery heart of the transcendentalists, a role model to young Louisa May Alcott, an inspiration to Nathaniel Hawthorne and his scandalous Scarlet Letter, a friend to Henry David Thoreau as he ventures into the woods of Walden Pond, and a muse to Emerson himself. But Margaret craves more than poetry and interpersonal drama, and she finds her restless soul in need of new challenges and adventures. And so she charts a singular course against a backdrop of dizzying historical drama. From Boston, where she hosts women's only literary salon for students like Elizabeth Cady Stanton, to the editorial meetings of the Dial magazine, where she hones her pen as its co-founder, to Harvard's library, where she is the first woman to study within its halls, to the gritty New York streets, where she spars with Edgar Allan Poe and reports on the writings of Frederick Douglass. Margaret defies conventions time and again as an activist for women and an advocate for humanity, earning admirers and scathing critics alike. When the legendary Horace Greeley offers an assignment in Europe, Margaret again makes history as the first female foreign news correspondent, mingling with luminaries like Frederick Chopin, Walt Whitman, George Sand, and more. But it is in Rome where she finds a world of passion, romance, and revolution, taking a Roman count as a lover and sparking an international scandal. Evolving yet again into the roles of mother and countess, Margaret enters a new fight for Italy's unification. With a star-studded cast and epic sweep of historical events, this is a story of an inspiring trailblazer, a woman who loved big and lived even bigger, a fierce adventurer who transcended the rigid roles ascribed to women and changed history for millions, all on her own terms. I gave this book 4 stars. This book will be available March 19th, 2023. I think it is appropriate that I was reading this book during National Women's Day. Margaret was one amazing woman, but just like with Madame Secretary Frances Perkins, I knew nothing about this incredible woman. In the author's notes, I always tell you to read those. Alison states, if indeed it was Margaret Fuller whose radiant genius and fiery heart was perhaps the real center of the incredible period of creativity in human drama, as claimed by Ralph Waldo Emerson, then why do so few people know the extent of her legacy or even her name? That was the question that prompted my initial search to learn more of the fascinating details of Margaret Fuller's life, and then spurred me on to write this work of historical fiction inspired by her life and legacy. I personally think it's sad she isn't included in any of our history books. This is my second book by this author. I read The Magnificent Lives of Marjorie Post, and I gave it 4 stars. Alison is a very descriptive author. I love that. Some don't. I highly recommend this book. If you like historical fiction and like to be able to see the places in your mind where the author is taking you, this is for you. I will continue to read any historical fiction books she writes. Thank you to Edwise and the publisher for my advanced reader's copy of this book for my honest opinion.